The basics of a hero. Part 1. The Promise. Kyle sat by the small wooden table in his family's humble home, staring at the single candle flickering in the dim light. The room was silent, save for the occasional creak of the old house settling. His heart was heavy, the weight of loss pressing down on him like an anchor. His parents had always been there for him, offering love and guidance, even in the hardest of times, but now they were gone, taken by a sickness that had claimed so many in their village. As he looked at the worn, handmade sword resting against the wall, memories of his mother filled his mind, her soft voice, the way she would smile despite the hardships they faced, and most of all, the words she had spoken to him in her final moments. "Kyle, my dear ... you have a kind heart and a strong spirit. I always dreamed of seeing you grow into a hero, someone who would help others and bring light to this world. Promise me you'll follow that dream ... even if I'm not there to see it." Tears welled up in Kyle's eyes as he recalled that promise. He had sworn to her that he would become the hero she always believed he could be, but how? He was just a poor boy from a small village, with no knowledge of fighting, magic, or anything heroic. Determined to honor his mother's wish, Kyle left his home the very next day. He traveled to every training hall in town, seeking to learn the skills he believed he needed to become a hero: swordsmanship, magic, hand-to-hand combat. He tried to master them all. But everywhere he went, the same thing happened. He could only grasp the basics, no matter how hard he tried. He couldn't advance beyond the fundamental techniques. His instructors were kind but firm. "You're to focus on mastering everything, Kyle. You need to specialize to hone a single skill if you want to excel," they would say, but Kyle couldn't bring himself to choose. He felt that mastering just one skill wouldn't be enough to fulfill his promise. He wanted to be a hero capable of anything, just as his mother had imagined. Frustrated and feeling like he had failed, Kyle returned home. The journey had taken a toll on him, and as he stood once more in the familiar confines of his house, he couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy. The basics, how could he possibly save anyone with just the basics? But he didn't give up. With no one to guide him, Kyle decided to train himself. Every day, from dawn until dusk, he practiced the same 3 basic skills: swordsmanship, magic, and hand-to-hand combat. He repeated the drills endlessly, pushing himself to his limits and beyond. His body ached, his muscles burned, but he refused to stop. The village watched in quiet amazement as the years passed. Kyle became stronger, his movements more fluid, his strikes more precise, but to Kyle, it never felt like enough. He had seen what true masters of their craft could do, and in his mind, he was still just a boy with only the basics at his disposal. 10 years passed this way. Kyle had grown into a man, his body hardened by years of training, his skills honed to perfection. But in his heart, he still felt weak. He had never tested his abilities in real combat, never faced an enemy or saved a life. He feared that, despite all his efforts, he had failed his mother's wish. One day, while practicing in the clearing behind his home, a group of villagers approached him. Their faces were filled with fear and desperation. "Kyle, please, you have to help us," one of them pleaded. "A band of marauders has been terrorizing our village. They've taken over the town and are demanding everything we have. We don't know what to do." Kyle's heart raced. This was his chance to be the hero his mother wanted him to be. But Dot gnawed at him. What if he wasn't strong enough? What if his basic skills weren't enough to protect the village? But then he remembered his mother's words, her belief in him. He couldn't let fear hold him back. He had trained for this moment, and now it was time to put everything he had learned to the test. "I'll help you," Kyle said, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "Lead me to them." As he followed the villagers toward the town, Kyle tightened his grip on his sword. He might only have the basics, but they were his basics, honed through years of hard work and dedication, and now he would use them to honor his mother's memory.